G'day and welcome to the Grow a Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Truen. Each week, we speak with an owner who has grown a business with 5 to 30 team members to something bigger. Diving into their numbers and unearthing the pain they've experienced, we explore what they did to overcome each barrier and what they would do differently from day one. Let's get into it. Welcome everyone. Today I'm interviewing Arjun Paliwal from InvestorKit. He's based in Sydney, Australia. Thanks for your time today, Arjun.
Good to be on, my friend. Thanks for having me.
Let's start with how we know each other. So Macrina from the PR Hub put us in touch. They've sent us quite a few great guests. So really looking forward to chatting today.
Yeah, it's great to be on, and they're a great team, actually.
Tell our audience a bit about your business, what it does and how it makes money.
We run a buyer's agency helping investors start or scale a property portfolio. And we help investors with the fee-for-service model in terms of purchasing property. And that's residential and commercial. So the simplest way to say is that in case you're out there and looking for property, trying to figure out what to buy, instead of going, hey, I'm going to trust and rely on the sales agent, which probably isn't in your best interest as they represent the seller, you can now take a step back, have a buyer's advocate represent you from a buying side of things, but also be able to make sure that you've got the right research, the right location, so you aren't relying on something that you may be doing once or twice or even 3 times if lucky in your lifetime to then all of a sudden thinking you're an expert at it. So this is where we come in with research, analysis, due diligence to help investors grow their portfolio and grow wealth.
So it's mainly helping investors, not people wanting to buy a home they're going to live in?
That's right. This is purely for investors, and it's property investors who might be trying to just get their first foot in the door in their 20s and 30s, or others that are starting to scale a portfolio, and even some who've got a large portfolio and want to take it to new heights with different strategies.
I had someone on the cast a couple of years ago now in this space, but in the US, and I was really surprised. You may know that half the agents in the US are buyer's agents and the other half are sellers, whereas here in Australia, buyer's agents are quite rare.
Yeah, very rare. So we're at the mark of around 2,000 to 3,000 buyer's agents in Australia versus there's about 70,000 sales agents, of which 40 to 50,000 are registered and active, but 70,000 plus registered. So huge gap. But I guess the core difference is that the buyers and sellers agents in the USA, they split the commissions paid by sellers.
Ah, right.
And so there might be a huge whopping 4 to 6% commission charge to a seller. And then a buyer's agent may come in and bring the buyer to the table to give that seller an extra person. But then the sales agent, because they didn't bring the buyer, ends up splitting the commissions with the buyer's agent. So that's probably why as well there's such big activity there, because essentially all sales agents, but they're just splitting it in different ways, and one's more responsible for presenting the property and one more responsible for buying. Whereas in Australia, a true buyer's advocate is someone who charges the buyer a fixed fee for service or sometimes percentage. But the advantage of that is that the buyer knows that this person represents me because I'm their person that pays them their fee. And there's a big upside there for the buyer to know that that's my contact, my trusted person. They're going to support me, whether it be due diligence, searching, saving me time, helping me avoid mistakes, research, all that sort of stuff.
And are you finding buyers advocates are becoming more in demand here in Australia?
Yeah, the demand's increased substantially. So I guess whilst the percentage basis has been huge in terms of total quantity, there would have been a few hundred when I first started. Now we're crossing that 2,000, and that's in a short 5-year span. So over the next 5, 10, 15 years, we could start to see this number go into the tens of thousands, in my opinion, and be something where property buying almost becomes like the decision of eating out or eat at home. When you go out, you're not walking into the chef's kitchen and telling them how it's made or making it for yourself. You're going out and being treated to someone who's an expertise in what they do. You save your time, you have your weekends back in the property buying case, and are able to make it very normalized in Australia. I do think that's going to happen.
It's a great service and idea. And you mentioned before that you do the research, particularly around the geographical, where's good to invest. Obviously, at the moment, the interest rates going up so fast in the last year. I'm assuming things have slowed down a little bit, but there will always be bargains somewhere. And you help your customers find those.
Yeah, I feel like actually over the last 12 months, business has been booming on the revenue front from even during these times of the interest rate perspective. And I guess what the mindset of the consumers to now go, this is confusing for me. Interest rates said they wouldn't go up to this, or RBA said the interest rates wouldn't go up to this, and now the interest rates are at a certain level. And now I need to take a step back because I'm not sure what to do. So in this environment, many customers have looked for a voice that they can trust. And, we are, if not the most, one of the most active buyer's agents in the mainstream media for Australia. In 2022, we had over 270 features, 13 times across TV, and are having thousands and thousands of downloads of our research papers we regularly release for free. And so from that prediction, analysis, trust in the marketplace from our data, I felt that people looked at this confusion and said, no, let me take a step back and find someone who can still help me hit my goals, but also be able to, make sure that they aren't going to tell me that everything's okay and fine, because interest rates are a big shock to many.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know here in Hobart, where I'm based, thanks to COVID, property prices went up in 2 years about nearly 60%, I think. So it's tough, but there's going to be regions and areas that will always have opportunities in it, and that's what your data and research is there for.
Definitely. I think now's the key to basically step back and go, because of the confusing times, because I don't know where, what, and how long X may go on for, or how do I get to my goals. This is why us as professionals are becoming more and more valued in the industry today, to help people get rid of the dark clouds above the minds and just focus on, by 50, 60, 70, whatever goal they want to hit, we look to help them get there.
And how did you start out?
Yeah, this takes me back to 2018, which is when I first started. And I was ex-CBA, so up in the support office or head office in Darling Harbour and Darling Park in Commonwealth Bank.
Just for the international audience, CBA is the Commonwealth Bank of Australia. They're the largest bank in Australia. Yeah.
Yeah, so I had a lot of time in that bank in terms of, I think, 8 years through various roles. And when I did that, I found myself investing in property a lot. And I think the key part here was that when I worked with many clients on the front end roles, we have the luxury of asking all the questions we want as a bank, and you kind of have to tell us if you want the money, right? And so the advantage there is that I learned the goods, the bads, what worked for many, what didn't work for many. And I just became extremely curious about how things worked. And so that turned into me and my wife going and making investment decisions. And we very quickly bought, I think it was 9 properties before leaving work. And a lot of my friends thought, hey, this is pretty cool. We're basically in the same team, the same roles or similar roles. And how come you're doing it and I'm not? And this turned into a regular conversation. And one part of me always thought that I wanted to go into business, but had no idea. Funnily enough, at the age of 26, call it 5 years ago, I decided to leave work at CBA in a well-paying job. Everything's going great. Career growth was great. And I had no idea of what I was going to do, but I just knew that I couldn't focus on coming up with the idea whilst working. And I feel like I needed to take some time off and had some passive income to do so. And my wife was able to support as well. And so when I took that time off, the idea came to me of all those mates who wanted my help, asked for my help, myself, and how much I enjoyed this and wanted to help them. And the passions aligned from investing, helping people, and turned it into a business.
Great. Well, 9 properties by 2018 when you started this business. If you had 9 of your own properties, that's phenomenal timing, just before COVID.
Yeah, things went pretty well. We continued to follow the strategies that we preach. And now my wife and I have got 17 properties, and it's around 12 million in holdings, and hoping to reach 15 to 20 million over the next 5 years. So that's kind of our ambitions.
Yeah, fantastic. Well done. And do you have some key numbers you can share to illustrate the growth of the business over the 5 years?
Yeah, the first year, like for many, is an interesting one. A few $100,000 in revenue, and it was a lot of learning because I think I'd spent just as much, if not more, than what I'd earned in the first year. And I feel there was a moment in that which made me realize, hey, I am someone who's going to say yes to more things than no. And I think that was probably my big learning over the few years ahead. But we've turned that around from that couple of hundred to $500,000 of revenue in year 2 to $750,000 in year 3, and $750,000 of profit and $1 million in profit. And then year 4 and year 5, which we're at now, revenues are on track to cross $3 million this year 5. So it's been a special journey so far, and going from a couple 100K to likely to cross 3 million in revenue this financial year. And that's sort of the pathway and trajectory we've been on.
Fantastic. That's amazing growth. And so it started out on your own, one full-time equivalent. And how big's the team now, full-time equivalents?
Yeah, so we've got 17 team members, and that's spread across the contractors and full-time equivalents as well. And so that 17 is also spread across multiple divisions. I feel there's almost a perfect split amongst a few divisions, but we've got client management and onboarding, research, acquisitions, and then buyer's agency.
When was the moment you felt like you had succeeded?
I still, to be honest, don't feel that today. I think there's this constant pressure in a healthy way I have on myself. And that's because I actually enjoy and thrive when I have pressure on me. And if I feel like I don't have any pressure I place on myself, I do get lazy. I do become a person who constantly scroll, and my index finger will get sore from scrolling, and then I'll look at time and I'll be like, what the hell have I done? And the whole day goes. And I think we can all have guilty moments of that, but I feel like if I don't have pressure on myself, I don't get up and do things. And I found that, because of that pressure, I almost never think I've achieved or am achieving something successful. So I think there's healthy parts to it, but I feel a couple of chats with a few good friends, they pat you on the back, and then all of a sudden, that's the part where you feel, hey, this is going pretty good. Then back to putting pressure on myself, whether that be responsibilities of family, whether it be the responsibilities of the many team members I have now to look after, or be responsible for, and then also many clients, right, to make sure that they succeed and continue to succeed, because their goals don't happen from buying one place. It's going to be multiple places held for multiple years, and I've got to be there for the journey and support them.
What does success look like to you?
It's forever changing. But I feel like when I think of success, to me, it's just impact. That's the simplest word. And for impact, you can chop and change this in many ways. Whether it's having my dad, who is the only parent I have right now, and he stays with us, and just making sure that anything and everything he wants to do, whenever he wants to do, that family relationship is the most important dynamic for me. So can I leave a positive impact to be feeling that he's in that position? Same with my, childhood friends. Many of them work with me in the business. My younger brother works with me in the business. My wife has a supporting business, and she's able to, also have her mum in her business. So I feel like impact to those loved ones, those close to you, and then combine that with the impact we're making with clients. That is truly success to me. And I think that's something that can be forever growing and evolving. So it never really stops, does it?
No, it does not. Number one thing you'd recommend to marketing a fast-growing business?
I would say that whilst there's some bads in this as well, there is a lot of goods. Say yes to everything. And that was an important lesson to me. And I mean this in the context of marketing, right? There may be people that come across your desk and look like experts, but may not be. They may come across your desk and say, hey, this strategy will work, and it may not. But the truth is, you just won't know until you know, for many cases. And I found that I have been through various marketing channels, approaches, strategies, and only through the fact that I probably said yes to more things in 5 years than many may say yes to in 10 to 15 years, have I started to pick out what's really working and then start to build on it.
Yep. Anything in particular at the moment that's really working for your business, like digital, online, or is it PR, the media stuff you said?
I would say the biggest thing in terms of what's working has been the actual strategy versus the channels or what approach of marketing. And by that, I mean that we, around a year or two ago, took an approach where we stepped back and said, we've got all this research that our clients love, and the results from bank valuations post-purchase, we're outperforming national market property growth by 29% year on year for now coming close to 4 years, but 3 years definitely. And this is verified via official bank valuations versus Australia's price growth. And so we then went on a journey to say, well, why don't we share this to the world? I bet they'll scare a lot of buyers agents when they start to see a lot of cool data out there, and then they're keeping cards close to their chest. Because what I very quickly learned is we are slowly and growing towards a very information heavy world, and whether it be AI and the tools available out there to be able to find and learn anything and everything you want to are going to explode and have been. And so to me, that means the consumer does not want the information. They want the best interpreter of information. And so we shifted our strategy to saying, we're going to give the goodies out to everyone. The most frequency of research reports for Australia's property market outside of the producers of data for Australia's property market is produced by us.
Yeah.
And so from that perspective, no one was able to put out as much high frequency, the depth, and that kind of started things from our business's growth to say, hold on a minute, if that's what these guys are saying now to the public and putting their word out there, sharing all the data insights, what goes on behind the scenes? What goes on if I'm a client of theirs? And so this is a big strategy we took, and then surrounding our podcasts, PR, Facebook advertisements, TikTok advertisements, organic socials, business to business, strategies. All of that came together, supported by the one strategy that we will give more than we will ever take. And so that strategy of really rolling out the research has been our biggest change in terms of what's created outcomes, and has been a game changer for the business.
It's very much the similar mindset that Alex Hormozi has. Have you read any of his books?
Love Hormozi, love the YouTube channel, absolute beast.
He's great. And listened to his take on AI a few weeks ago. It was quite an interesting one. But yeah, his $100 million offers book is really good, and Gym Launch Secrets, even if you don't own a gym. That's a great book, a lot of tips, and he gives away a shit ton of free value. Same philosophy. He wants to put it out there to help a lot more people. And those that are happy to pay will obviously trust that what's behind the scenes is, as you said, a lot more valuable than the free stuff.
Yeah, it's key, right? And the interpretation part's the most important. We can give every single buyer's agent the same data in the country, and they will go on to make different decisions. It's just fact.
Yeah.
And so this is the key part where we realize that this is the trust that people want in us. So give it away so they can have a portion of that community go and make their own decisions. It's okay. You may lose customers in doing this, but at the same time, you get the best quality customers who love what you do, want to work with you, enjoy your transparency. They carry the values and ethics that you have. And as a result, there's this openness that you have, rather than feeling like you have to sell or navigate a process that makes them come to you through persuasion and influence and secrecy of what I can give you if you come to the other side. So this has been a big game changer for us, and a trust that we want to keep building in the marketplace.
How did you fund the business?
It started with a little bit of cash from my buffers, and a few credit cards helped along the way as well. So the danger part, I think that I told you about the good parts of saying yes to everything, but I didn't say the danger parts of saying yes to everything, where everyone's coming at you to say, let me solve your problem in the business. I was there saying yes, and so was my credit card, right?
Yeah.
So that was interesting when your back's against the wall, you're putting $20,000 onto a landing page or a marketing thing change, and your fingers crossing that everything works and it's gonna come out well. And then it just poofs, and you realize that way the page doesn't do anything, the traffic does, and the page will then help with the traffic behind it. And so I didn't know all these things. So that started from a bunch of credit cards, a bunch of cash that I had saved as well, and just this belief and trust to look back and say, if it all fails, I go back in the bank. My wife was still in the bank. I didn't leave on sour terms. Maybe I give it 4 or 5 years and come back at 30. And at the same time, I would have acquired a lot of properties that I felt I was holding anyway for the long term. So that was a pretty cool worst case to have. So it felt a little bit, I guess, quite bullish on giving things a go.
Yeah, great. So no investors along the way. It's just yourself and your wife.
Yeah, no investors along the way. And now we can self-fund this business as well as multiple businesses as part of our goals ahead, and property portfolios due to the revenue and profits created.
If you were to start up today with plenty of funding, would you go into your industry?
Great question. This is interesting. So I think due to the early stages of the industry, now, don't get me wrong, it's not like early as in it just came up last year. There have been buyers advocates who may have had roles in the 90s, but the take-up, the competition, all that sort of stuff was not to be found. Short answer is yes. I'd still start it even with funding today. And the simple part is because the pain points and the problems exist more than ever, which is confusion, uncertainty, trying to get ahead, but having every single person coming at you saying they can get you ahead. And I think that fear is what makes people want to get the right relationship, the right trust, the right people around them. And when you have a business where you can make a positive impact with Australia's history on property price growth, they become repeat forever and the biggest advocates of your business. Like 39% of our business in the last financial year was from word of mouth.
Wow.
And for a business that advertises a lot, there's two ways you can look at it. One is, could we get better at advertising? And then the second way is, hey, well done to be able to still look at the outside world, but still have so much of your current community keep talking about you.
Yeah, that's fantastic. 39% is phenomenal. Well done. Can you outline the most stressful point in your small business growth journey so our audience can learn from it?
Yeah, I would say the two most stressful points for me, because it has to be more than one here, because there's a few moments coming to my mind. One is actually a particular scenario of a property investing decision. So this is the down and the upside of my business. It aligns with investing as well, meaning the part of the downside is that there can be some very expensive moments that come up, and you've got to make a call if you want to be a part of those expensive moments or not. And there is upside on the other side of it, where because you're investing and you see everything in the investing world, you can sometimes get your hands on a certain couple of deals, right, for your own portfolio. So this takes me back to literally the moment of lockdown. And I had a client of ours purchase a property. Everything was going well, but then lockdowns hit, and their business had a substantial amount of change, like many did as a result of that lockdown, and they needed to back out of this property. Now, they technically couldn't back out of the property because they were approved for finance, or very likely to be approved. And so when it came to backing out, the vendors really want to sell and get on with it, especially during lockdown. And they said that, hey, we can't get you out of this, or kind of said that in a nice way. And so as a result, I wanted to make sure that this valued client and friend wasn't impacted. And I went to backup clients and said, hey, I got this place, transparency, this is what's happening. Do you want to go for it? I was very trusted in the marketplace, and those backup clients said, yep, let's go for it. And so great, happy days. Now, all of a sudden, that doesn't work out either. Their bank is saying, hey, this is not working. Now, I've got my word in a few places. My word to one friend and client is, I will make sure you're okay. My word to the next person is the sales agent to go, I want to make sure that the vendor's okay. And then the word is just flying around, and I need to make sure these checks can be cashed, right? And so as a result, I'm looking at my wife, and we had a lot of reinvesting in business that year. So our cash wasn't all that. And we're about to go into lockdown, or in lockdown. I look at her and go, can we buy this place off my customer to ensure that they can get their deposit back, the vendor gets the sale through, and we can make sure all my words kept here, and add an investment. Yeah, cool, add an investment whilst the whole world is shutting down. Yep. And so she goes, yeah, back to you for everything, and I'll back you for everything forever. And so that's one thing I'm very touch wood. I hope continues to happen forever.
And just to remind everyone, as we're going to lockdown March, April 2020, all the property experts were predicting property prices were going to drop 20%.
Correct. And so I went in there and basically said, okay, let's do it. So we had some creative finance to get it through. And the creative finance, lockdowns, regions, all that sort of stuff said, we want you to pay a 25% deposit, way more than the 10% I was used to. And so now my cash was down to, I would say, 20,000 in bank. And from a business that has some pretty decent expenses and turnover, and you're going into lockdown. And I just basically had a pretty stressful moment. But what was most important to me was my word. Now, hindsight of that decision, that client has been an amazing client and friend. I've purchased multiple properties for them. That agent trusted us so much that I've even now gone on to purchase properties for him. And from that perspective, that property, I purchased it for $380K at the time, and is now worth $620,000.
Wow.
Phenomenal. And the cash is far better than that 15,000. We're well into seven figures of holdings now. So from that perspective, that was a stressful one. And I promised you two. Mm-hmm. The second moment was, I guess, when interest rates, changed. It wasn't the fact that we were scared of what was going to happen or anything like that. It was the fact that my plans were so in this upwards growth trajectory. Now, during that plan, obviously, the demand took a step back of our client base to say, it's not that I don't trust you. It's the fact that I just need to process what's going on. And that didn't last long, by the way. That lasted for a few months. So the good news is that it very much rocketed back. But the stress of being completely reinvested onto a massive growth plan and journey because of the reputation we were building, the problems we were solving, we felt immensely confident to all of a sudden have a bit of a pause. The stressful moments came from two realizations. One is we couldn't take the team in the same way that we wanted to. And then secondly is that if we do go on this growth journey, we're going to be fighting against the grain. And so I wouldn't say that that moment stressed me to a point of like what the first moment did, because my word was the most important to me. But the second moment that I had stressed me to a point of like, I'm really going to roll my sleeves up and fight all the headwinds that are happening in Australia and going to show to the marketplace that the truth is there are still locations, but we just have to talk a lot more about them because the whole other side is talking not about them. And that was a journey I decided to, bite down and go in on. And so that has turned out to be the best journey looking back into it. Both have actually, because I told you about the property upside, the friend upside for the first one. But the second one was the fact that we got the calls right. We have so much proof out there in the mainstream media now about talking about markets like Toowoomba, Townsville, Adelaide. We went on TV and said Adelaide would grow double digits at the start of last year. Imagine how gutsy you've got to be when interest rates start rising and you're saying that. It did grow double digits. We also said that Sydney would decline. It did decline and continue to decline. We said the regions would continue to hold up well, and there were some. The top 10 performance SA4 or statistical area 4, which is kind of like for regional cities, the regional city plus surrounding small towns. The top 10, the best performer was a 15% capital growth for a big region, and 8% capital growth was the worst in the top 10. So to know that we made the majority of our clients money whilst the country moved backwards by 6% and 10 interest rate rises happened during 2022, that to me just gave me so much confidence to say, hey, if you truly believe in what's going to happen and the research you've got is backing it and you're on a growth journey, take that stress and turn it into something good.
What area in business do you feel you've had to work on the most to add the greatest value?
For me, I'd say it's process, because I've been someone that tries to solve something with energy most of the times, solve something with ethics, and solve something with hustle, right? So it was all about, I'll do the right thing, I'll hustle forever, and I'll just give such good vibes that how could someone hate me? Like that was my three bits of formula for success. Then all of a sudden, you realize that you can't make every phone call. You can't be there for every email. You can't be there for every coffee. You can't be there for every presentation. You can't be there for every agent negotiation. You have to look at relying on a team and supporting that team to deliver the best they can for the client and their careers as well. And that told me, hey, I'm not in the safety of a big bank like Commonwealth Bank now, where I just go in and do my stuff and all the processes are built around me because they've been engineered for centuries with some super smart people, far smarter than me. Well, that was my time to learn, and the biggest area that I need to improve on and still try and improve on. But thankfully, I learned a couple of things. Hire good people, get out of their way was one.
Yep.
And then the second thing I learned was, keep asking questions, even if it makes you look like the dumbest person in the room. And those two things have helped me get pretty processed up, and we're improving in that area.
What have you enjoyed the least about managing fast growth?
I've enjoyed what have I enjoyed the least? I would say it's the difficulty of trying to balance people with numbers. That is the hardest, and still today, the least favorite thing that I have in the business. In CBA, when you're working for a comfortable, company like that, you didn't really have any thoughts of the people side of things. And when I say that, I don't mean that disrespectfully. I mean that from a perspective of the bank would take care of everyone. You take care of the job and the numbers. And now I'm in this space where there's a numbers aspect of what people deliver, how good they help customers, how frequent they are from their actions that they take and how much quality they attach to the actions that they take in work, and the research reports they write, how frequently, how deep, how helpful, the clients they speak to, how they help them. There's so much aspects to this that has numbers, but then the other aspect of it is people and the balance between people and numbers, because sometimes there's a part of you that says, you're not the right person for this job and this is not going to work. But then the emotion of me goes, I'm going to give them a 16th chance.
Yep.
and so as a result, I honestly suck at that. And the weakness and the difficulty in that area has meant that I probably spent more money in areas than other leaders who are a bit better at that would have. I probably made less profit in certain years than others would have, because they would have pulled up, made decisions, made executive shifts. And that's the thing that I really want to get better at, is maturing in leadership, to be able to say, I can balance and know when I need to be the people's person. And I know when I need to just, the numbers are the numbers and we need to make a decision and move on. And so that's the hardest and the most difficult thing.
What do you love most about growing a small business?
I would say the compound effects. That's my favorite.
Yep.
Looking back 5 years and our clients that started in year one, like there's such cool stories. It's unreal. Like working in the investment space, the stories you can have of the impact you can make for someone is ridiculous. Like there's 2 stories that come to mind. One person who had been rejected by other buyers agents thinking they didn't have enough budget or deposit. And in 2018, we worked together, and they're one of my closest friends now. When we worked together in 2018, firstly, I was so hungry for a client when I first started. I was chopping and changing from price points to payment plans to every solution that could work, right? And firstly, this person, it made the world of a difference to them, because they were going from, I've not got enough savings, not enough income, can't buy enough property. All of a sudden, they buy a property for $265,000 in the western suburbs of Brisbane in 2018. That property's worth over $400,000 now. And that flexibility from payment plans, reduced fees, lower budgets that we created, what impact that's done. And then on top of that, everyone said that they couldn't borrow or do something for the second. We found them a solution, took out equity from the first, bought them a second. Now you've got someone on an earlier part of, entry-level wages has suddenly turned into 2 properties more than anyone else in the same whack would have. And so that was a huge change, but there's countless stories from someone who's had a successful business, but not delved down the real estate path. And we bought 9 properties in 3 years for them, having 6 residentials, 3 commercial properties, having a 7-figure equity growth in that 3-year period, and having a 6-figure passive income instantly achieved due to commercial properties as a key mix of it. So the compounding stories. And then when you look back and you go, hey, that one coffee I had with that guy that I wasn't so sure about having, and I moved meetings, has now turned into 15 friends, repeated 3 times each, and they're all set for life from investing. Like compound's my favorite thing.
Well, it was an Einstein said the 7th wonder of the world is compound interest.
That's it.
What has been the biggest mindset shift for you in your small business growth journey?
The biggest mindset for me has been you just can't out hustle everything. That's been the biggest thing, because I still feel like anyone in the room, I'll say to them that I'm the hardest working guy in the room. That's just the self-confidence. And I think many of us will say that. But then realizing that it got to a point where I was compromising on my health. And I over the last, I'll tell you this quick story. Over the last 8 years, I went from 85 kilos, a part-time male model, to 136 kilos.
Wow.
And then I went from 136 and now I'm back to 118, and I'm going to get back to the 85. I can't promise I'm going to be doing any photo shoots when I'm back at 85 again. But what I will do is feel a heck of a lot better. And I'm not here to blame the hustle for that. I'm here to blame unorganized hustle for that. Yeah. And so I feel like systems and processes, mindset shifts for hustling are going to be the biggest difference makers for me to take life and business to a new level over the next 10 years.
Yep. Fantastic. Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Finding that balance, and you just got to put the discipline in and block out that time and make it happen. It
starts with you first, because I realized that now that I've got the responsibility of my younger brother, my dad, my wife, any future kids, 17 people in the team, 5 people in my wife's team, and then all of these factors that rely on us to getting it right for our clients and doing it time and time again. It starts with me to make sure I don't hop and, don't get lost on this journey. And that's where I just shifted it from December last year. And it's now been a few months, and hopefully next time we catch up, I'm down under 100.
Yeah. The number one habit you think a small business owner needs to develop and maintain?
The number one habit has to be that when you say you'll do something, you'll do something. It's tough, but right now in small business world, before we move to the transitions, and as we move to the transitions to bigger businesses and beyond, I feel the part that starts the same for everyone is your word, and you have an opportunity to start your lever up front. Like it's 100% trust for those close circle of people when you start your business, and that lever falls back the less your word means to them. And so I feel like there's that first circle of people that can explode your business around you, from the chain of people that it goes through or the doors that it opens. And your word is going to mean a lot. And so when you say something and you're going to do that something and you get it done, it can just lead on to so many things, because people remember you for you. And then they start to remember going, oh, wait, you have that service, you have that product, you run that business. And then your brand starts to change from you to the actual greater business brand. But I feel like if I look back at anything that's held strong and been a big tip for me, it's, keep to your word.
Yep. Oh, geez, that shits me when people they only do half the things they say they're going to do. I write them off pretty quickly. And it's
100%.
Not that hard. It's habits and systems. Yeah. Be the change you want to see in your business. Become more productive and less stressed with our free Transform Your Performance online course. Once you see the benefits, put your entire team through the course at no cost. We start out by telling you the secret to guaranteed success, then over 100 lessons help you be more focused, present, productive, and feel more in control about work. growasmallbusiness.com. Can you talk how you've added people to the team, some wins, mistakes, and advice for those listening? That's phenomenal growth from one yourself through to 17 people now in 5 years. You said before you've had to let some people go as well. So what's your take on adding people to the team?
My take is, when I think of the things that have worked really, really well, is don't hire for education and experience. That's the thing that, funnily enough, it's the first questions we see in a CV, but it's the last things that have been measures of success for who I've hired. The second thing is don't say yes to everything when it comes to the team. And that's one thing I learned the hard way. And when I learned it the hard way, I say it from a perspective of, I built the team around individuals versus building the team around myself and or the customer. And so what that meant was I went through journeys where profits were absolutely stripped back, even though we were growing, delivering better and doing better. And they were stripped back because I decided to say yes to a few things that I shouldn't have said yes to before thinking out clearly. So I would say that those two things were big learnings for me. And the final piece I'd add into there from a building a team perspective is that once you do start to move beyond 5 to 10 people, you essentially become a part-time recruiter and a part-time HR manager, or even as close to full-time for some cases. And so from that perspective, it was very important that systems needed to be in place in the recruitment side of things. And I underestimated how important that was. And now we've started to, play that. And this is where there are people in your team who may want to be champions and want to help you with that and support you in the recruitment journey. But that's been big for me, applying systems in recruitment, not just thinking systems in delivery of service, systems in delivery of back-end business processes, but actually you need systems for growing a team in terms of the recruitment side itself. So 3 things there I'd make sure that people pick up.
Totally agree with you there. I believe recruitment is the number one thing a manager does, because it's so important to make sure you get an A player. You don't end up with an arsehole on the team, or a B or a C player, because that toxicity just ruins the culture, and then your A players start leaving. But I've also found that most business owners don't value recruitment, or they rush it. They suffer warm body syndrome. I just need someone in to help with the resourcing of our growth, and they pay for it. And I've read stats recently that it can be anywhere between 5 and 27 times that role's annual wage in a miss hire if you fuck it up. And
Massive.
business owners don't invest enough time or research and understanding recruitment, how to do it well, and review every time you hire someone. Even if you nailed it, just go back to something you can improve on. We've just launched our ultimate recruitment toolkit for that exact reason, a 2-week short course for business owners, because we find they just don't invest the time that they need to in the most important job that a manager does.
Yeah, well said.
What are some of the things you recommend to building a sustainable and kick-ass culture to help with the growth?
Yeah, so the kick-ass culture isn't the old pizza box thing that it used to be at CBA. So I definitely made sure that wasn't brought along. But pizza is cool, and we do get a lot of that from a weekly perspective. From a culture, I would say don't be afraid to pull up things. You'd be surprised how pulling up things can actually positively impact your culture, because people feel like, they're supported when someone can step in and pull up certain things there, I feel. But when it comes to positive recognition, realizing that it can really be delivered in different shapes, sizes, and discussions. For some, they love the claps, the audience, the love. For some, the most important thing is pay me more, and that's just it. Like, I just need more. And for others, it's take me away to a quiet room, have a chat with me, let me know your thoughts, appreciate me, guide me. And I've been starting to learn more and more about that in recent years and trying to figure out what works best. But I feel that celebrating success, celebrating it in different ways, and of course, just delivering a kick-ass service or product, you'd be surprised that, in my opinion, I think that's the biggest culture difference maker, is that you just have a business that does good things for good people. And if you end up doing that, it will flow through. Like, it's just contagious. I post testimonials every week to our clients, to our team group. How can someone, hate what they do when they see these customers' lives being changed and them feeling happy? So I feel like if you have success in the business and deliverables, that will make life easier. Second is, I've learned how to best appreciate people in their own unique ways.
Do you use any behavioral models to better your communication style, like Myers-Briggs or DISC?
I did consider DISCs in the earlier phases of constructing my team. Now, with the DISC analysis, one thing I quickly learned was that
you've got to be a high S, surely. People oriented, introvert.
Yeah. Actually, I you're spot on. And the part that I felt where I struggled was managing Ds.
Yes, I'm D. We are very difficult. For the audience, I'm task-orientated extrovert. So I'm all about ready, fire, aim, let's go, what's the next project? So I've struggled to stop and celebrate with teams, which is why I have to really think about it and put things in place to make sure I do, because it's so important. As you said before, it's part of the culture. But yes, we can be very frustrating, us high Ds.
Yeah, that's been definitely a tough one to manage. But with regards to some other models, there was one thing that I brought back from the CBA days, and it was the success triangle. And it was around, are you capable, motivated, and clear?
Yep.
And I don't talk about the concept in terms of the triangle, but that capability, motivation, and clear. And if I start to just analyze anyone who's having a great time at their job or not so doing so well, I kind of bring it back to the three. And look, they don't have the capability, they're feeling crappy. Yep. Or they're capable, but they just don't know what to do. And I'm, as a leader, failing them by not giving them clarity. And then there's others who are very capable and clear, but they're just not motivated. And I need to understand them better, understand what drives them better, and sit down and dissect that, or maybe see the fears that they've had of what they do with their capability and their experience that they've had, and clarity, and just try and see if I can shape that around with a bit of motivation. So that's my favorite model, if I'm honest, because it's just so simple. It's three things, and you just get it right or you get it wrong. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of DISC. Manager Tools has some great podcasts on it. They recorded 17, 18 years ago. I'll shoot those through to you if you want to revisit them. But I highly recommend it. It's more about, well, I call myself these days an effective high D, because I tailor my communication style to the person I'm speaking with. So I understand if they're a high C, particularly, for example, they need a shitload of data a week before I meet with them, as opposed to another high D would be just rock up and have a quick chat, blah, blah, blah. So it's been really powerful in my management of my companies and some of the coaching I've done as well. So you may be interested in having a listen to those, but I'd recommend it to the audience, manager tools.
Yeah, I'm totally keen to check those out.
Tell our audience how you've handled balance.
Balance has been actually an interesting one. I don't think, I obviously talked about the balance being start with me so I can start to get that better. But outside of just starting with me, I don't really believe in balance. I believe in integration. And so for me, if I need to pick up the phone at 9 p.m. and call someone and I need to work, great. Because there's been an integration to my relationships expectations around what I do, what I give back to the relationship in other ways, and then, of course, what I'm responsible for and what I have achieved in the day, whether it be the health, personal, love, other things, business. So I feel like it's all about integration. And if you focus too much on balance, you kick yourself when you've gone over that time limit, when you've gone over the workout limit, when you've gone under the workouts because you didn't have that balance. So I try and avoid using it. And I just try and think of it as a perspective of if I've got to not work today because I'm going to hang out with someone, it is what it is. And I'll make it up because the hustle got me here and it can get me out of here too. So I feel like the main thing is integrate it, try and find ways to make life fulfilling by having personal, love, work, business, all be a part of it. I don't believe in shut off days or turn on days or start times or end times. I wake up at 5:15. Every day since the age of 15. It's now 15 years later and haven't missed one except for a couple of late nights out from time to time. But wake up 5:15. I go to sleep between 10:30 and 12. Whenever that happens, it happens, and I just try and have a kick-ass day each day.
How much professional development have you invested in yourself?
It's surely crossed the six-figure mark by now, and professional development has been something where it started from mentors. It started from the mentors of mentors. It went through courses. I truly believe you've got to be omni-channel in your professional development too, from whether it be courses to private coaching to group events. You get something in different aspects. But one thing I've started to learn from professional development and continually investing in it has been, I'd say, two things. One is you are not a specialist in everything.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, the same way you ask your customers to outsource a speck of their life, whether it be property buying, whether it be a shampoo, whether it be food, whether it be something, every one of us is getting someone to outsource something in their life to us. And so if we are doing that, then we should be prepared to do the same back. And when you do that, you get specialists around you and you truly do fast track your success. So that was the first thing I picked up. The second thing I picked up was just when you think you're good, you're not that good. And so just when you think you've hit 3 mil, someone that you originally wouldn't have listened to or maybe not thought of, maybe didn't know about, and they've hit 10 mil and they have the tools that you need to hit. And not saying that money defines it. Someone could be on that 1 mil and have the tools and do business really well. But the key is that there are so many levels to this game, to this life, that just when you think you're that good, something can humble you. And the key here is to make sure that you think you're good from a confidence aspect, but never think you're too good from a learning aspect. And so that's my two biggest takeouts from professional learning.
There was a role in Greek times when a lot of the leaders and philosophers would get up and speak and have these great speeches, but there was a full-time role of a person who would crouch behind them, and so the audience couldn't see them, but their role was to every now and again, when they got a bit away from themselves, the speaker, they would just basically say, "You're shit," to keep their ego in check and bring them back. I'm still trying to find the title of that role. I heard about it years ago, but I found that was quite interesting.
Sign me up to that. I'd love to have that happen, whether it's me to someone else just for the lols. I think I'm keen for that.
So you've had mentors or coaches, and do you have a board of directors or advisors at the moment?
I don't have a board of directors or advisors, but I do have my fellow board of director I call at home. And so she's guiding me a lot when it comes to soundboarding decisions. also I feel like because this industry isn't me launching a rocket into the space, there are many before me who have done it. And so picking up the phone call in the community, picking up the phone call from certain industry professionals, or even just those mentors that we have who've been in there 10 years ago, 5 years ago, the problems that you're solving don't change. It's just that you look for different ways to solve them and get better at solving them. So, yeah.
All right, Arjun, we're on to our final 5 questions. What do you think is the hardest thing in growing a small business?
I'd come back to building a team.
Yep, totally agree. Hardest thing in small business, in my opinion. Favorite business book which has helped you the most?
If you're not first, you're last.
Do you know who the author is? Haven't heard that one.
Grant Cardone.
Yeah.
And I would highly recommend the audiobook. Don't read it. It's so much better in audio. The Americanized, the twang, the extra freebies he throws in there beyond the reading. And that truly told me that there are levels to productivity, there are levels to hustle that no one like has told me before. And then that shaped my whole life differently.
Speaking of great audio books compared to the written ones, have you listened to Principles by Ray Dalio?
I haven't listened to it on audio, no.
No. Have you read the book?
Yes.
Yes. It's a great book. Any great podcasts or online learning tools you use for your own professional development?
From an online learning tool and podcast, mate, I've been following yours in recent times, and that's been great because there is such diversity in the guests that you have here. And that's the thing with business that many people forget, is it doesn't have to be your industry. There could be one other business owner that has a logistical issue that's the same issue that you have, and you're in a completely different industry and they solved it. So I feel like business podcasts like this have been game changers for me. Other podcasts have really been more so for me to keep in touch with property markets and really figure out what the sentiment is being driven by, what opinions are being said. I would say that those two have been big things for me. And then mainly audiobooks. I'd say audiobooks have been greater tools.
Yeah, me too. One tool you'd recommend to help grow a small business?
I'd incorporate that success triangle into there.
Mm-hmm.
Capability, clarity, motivation. Ask it of yourself. Ask it of every team member. Think of development plans. You can think of coaching sessions using it. You can think of quick feedback loops using it. You can audit any part of a process in business and people and just quickly apply it and quickly get to a point of capability, clarity, motivation, and figure out where you need to step in and patch up.
Finally, my favorite question. What would you tell yourself on day one of starting out?
Patience. And the reason why patience is so important is that if I'd applied some of those things, which I do now from year 1, but in year 5, which I'm now doing, they all worked. I just applied them at the wrong time with the wrong people, with the wrong knowledge. But all those tools of the podcast, the content plan, the process of your back end, the landing pages, the this and the that, and all that sort of stuff that I thought, oh my God, this is going to solve my life and I'm going to be a multi-millionaire, super successful business owner in year 1. They were all the things that I'm doing now and they're working. But because I tried them in year 1, they just miserably failed because you cannot plug and play and everything's amazing and solved. I truly feel that patience can allow you to figure out who you are, who you want to speak to, what you want to be known for, what do you stand for, who do you want to hire, what results do you want your clients to see and have and feel, what do you want them to say about you 10 years later to their friends. I didn't come up with these things then. I didn't know about these things then. I just thought, what was the coolest logo? I probably spent a week on a logo, a week on my business cards, and felt like Paul Allen, American Psycho. And I think the key thing here is that your patience is such a big game changer. And I try and pass that on to my team because there are roles where there's commissions only roles or other things like that in the world of agencies or agents, and unfortunately, many don't see the other side or cannot be comfortable with it because that patience doesn't exist. So very powerful.
Well, thanks very much for your time today, Arjun. Really enjoyed our chat, learnt a lot, and I'm sure we could keep going on for another couple of hours. Congratulations on your success. 1 to 17 team members now in 5 years and around the $3 million mark after a couple of $100,000 in the first year and a lot of learning along the way. So you sound like you got your ego in check, you're humble, and you're knocking it out of the park. So well done.
Thank you, my friend. Appreciate the time.
That's it. Thanks for listening. Please leave a review in iTunes or whatever platform you listen to us on. It means more small business owners will find our cast and help people with their business growth journey.